All right. I'm excited. I'm excited to have Rachel and Nelly with us today as we are discussing the interconnection between Scrum and usability testing and how we can effectively use both of these ideas to maximize value for our customers, our users, and our stakeholders. So a little bit about our meetup. Our meetup was founded maybe 7-8 years ago. I'm losing track of time. And the intent of our meetup was to help people find the interconnection between Agile and DevOps. And so all of our topics will have something to do with Agile or DevOps. Started with just 3 people in a Barnes and Noble on Beltline Road and Tollway, and now we've grown to almost 2,500 people. So it's been an interesting journey. This meetup is made possible by my company, Smooth Apps. We help with Agile training, Agile coaching, Agile consulting, Agile transformation. If you want to learn more about our company, what we do, and if we can help you, take a look at our website, smoothapps.com. You can read our blogs, you can watch our videos, webinars, and look at our upcoming classes. So we've got PSM 1 coming up. I think it's next in a week or 2. And then we've got classes populated for the next few months, SPS, PSPO, advanced, and so on. So take a look at our website. We have lots of content on our YouTube channel as well. So lots of free content that can help you improve your skills, your knowledge, your maturity related to Agile. Okay. And also, if you want, you can follow our LinkedIn page, because we try to promote content. We try to publish content that will be valuable to you. So that's a little bit about our company, which sponsors this meetup. I want to talk a little bit about a cause that is very dear to me. I'm a very grateful immigrant, and I feel a very strong sense of gratitude to America and Americans. America has helped my family for the last 20 years by welcoming me into this beautiful country. And I've been trying to pay off a small part of the huge debt I owe to this country. And one way I try to do that is by supporting Agile for Patriots. This is a nonprofit I co-founded with Greg Gomel about, I think, 4 years ago. We provide free training, coaching, consulting, mentoring, certification to US military veterans and spouses. So we've finished 8 cohorts. We try to do about 1 cohort a year, and we are about to start preparing for cohort 9, which will begin early next year. So if you feel like saying thanks to US military families, please join us in any way that you can. Today is North Texas Giving Day. So if you want, go to agileforpatriots.org, make a donation by clicking on the donate button. We'll be very grateful to you. And then if you can donate your time, we'd love to have you as a speaker if you have Agile experience, or if you can help our participants build fulfilling careers in the Agile industry. We'd love to have you as a speaker. If you are willing to offer any workshops, we'd be grateful for that. If you're willing to consider our graduates for internships, for job opportunities, or even if you just want to bring them along for a day at your workplace so they can shadow you and they can understand what it feels like to be an Agile practitioner, we'll be grateful for anything that you can do to help us give back to our military families. So that's a little bit about our meetup, my company, and about a cause that is dear to our heart. So with that, what I want to do is I want to introduce you to the topic and our speakers. Let me explain why I requested help from Rachel and Nelly. So I'm an Agile coach. I've been in this business for 12 years. I've been in technology for, oh my God, this is embarrassing, since 1998, 23 years. I'm really old. One of the biggest challenges I've seen in technology delivery is my friend Jay Shu tells me you are not your user. So I have a very strong opinion. I'm a very opinionated guy, but that doesn't mean that I know what I'm talking about. So I have a strong opinion about what makes a good product and what my customers like. But more often than not, I am not my user, I'm not my customer. So when I finally deploy a product to production, I realize that what I thought the customer wanted and needed is very different from what the customer thinks the customer wants and needs. And this causes a lot of wasted time and money. And one of the things I'm curious about is how can we reduce the needless waste of human potential in delivering things that nobody wants, that nobody cares about. And that's really the art and the craft of user experience. And the two people who I know who know the most are Rachel and Nelly. I've actually asked them to help us build our next product, which is Al Dente. And I was so impressed with how much they have helped us improve our product that I wanted to make their wisdom available to my broader community. And that's why I've asked them to join us. What makes them unique is they understand human beings, they understand human psychology, they understand the art and craft of user experience and maximizing user delight. And also, they both understand Agile and Scrum because I personally taught them. Both Rachel and Nelly have attended the Applying Professional Scrum course. They've got PSM1. They've attended the PSPO course, and they've got PSPO1. So they can help us build a bridge between the worlds of user experience and user delight and Agile software delivery with Scrum. And so today I invited them to teach us what steps can Agile teams take to integrate usability testing into Agile software delivery with Scrum without being terrified that starting this conversation is going to open a Pandora's box and unleash the curses of uncontrolled, unregulated expectations from their customers only to set you up for failure, right? So it's a very powerful tool. And they're going to tell us how can you open this box and unleash hope and not the curses of unrealistic expectations. So with that, I am going to stop talking. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to pass the baton over to Rachel and Nelly. So Rachel and Nelly, please take it away. And we are ready to learn from you.
Thank you so much for that amazing introduction, Ravi. I'm Rachel, and with me is Nelly. We're going to be presenting Pandora's box of usability testing. And we're going to kind of go into how to introduce usability testing into an Agile environment. Nelly, if you want to go ahead and share your screen.
Yes, let's go ahead and get this started. Give me 1 second. Can everybody see?
Yes, we can.
Yes, ma'am.
Are we seeing the presentation mode?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect.
All righty. Well, here we are at the very beginning, and we're going to take about 30 minutes on this topic. Thank you so much, Robbie, for that introduction. We're also going to take about 15 minutes at the end to do a Q&A session. And I think Robbie will then kind of bring us into wrapping it up and letting all of you guys go, hopefully for the better, a little bit more educated, a little bit more learned today. This is a very dense topic, so we're going to be going over quite a few things. Nelly, if you want to head on over to the overview. All right, so we're going to do what exactly is usability testing, how it can help you, when you should consider it, how do you do it, getting started, and managing some of those risks that you're gonna be seeing. Starting us off is going to be Nelly with what is usability testing.
Right, so let's dive in. What is usability testing? Usability testing is a technique used in user-centered interaction design to evaluate products by testing it on users. It's the method of testing the functionality of, let's say, an app, a website, any other digital product by observing real users as they attempt to complete tasks on it. So the goal of usability testing is to reveal areas of confusion and uncover opportunities to improve the overall user experience of your product. A quote by Benjamin Franklin is, "An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure." That ties in pretty well to usability testing because user feedback at early stages can help improve product performance. It also tells you what your customer thinks of your product and how it stacks up against competition. So by using usability testing, you're going to be able, and checking out your competition and your competitors, it helps you know potential threats from competition and will give you the advantage to act and improve on your product's weaknesses. And as we've, kind of have a theme for this with Pandora's box, a lot of product owners fear that using usability testing for their current iterations and work and getting customer feedback is like opening Pandora's box. And it's kind of overwhelming by getting the responses, and it could set your Scrum team back on development. But in reality, usability testing is the hope found at the bottom of Pandora's box. And it can really help you identify gaps and pain points and save you a lot of time and revenue by making adjustments earlier on versus later. So now we're going to kind of go into some examples on how testing can help.
So to take a look at an example of how usability can help, how usability testing can help you, we're going to take a look at McDonald's. McDonald's, everyone is familiar with it. It's one of the world's largest fast food chains. They actually, and I didn't know this until I was researching this, they have 62 million customers in a day, one day. That's crazy to me. So McDonald's was a little bit late to the mobile game. They launched their app in 2015. And that was about the same year that Starbucks actually was, Starbucks app was accounting for about 20% of its revenue just from its own mobile app. So a little bit behind the curve, but McDonald's wanted to see a way to win back customers after 4 years of declined foot traffic. But having this kind of a project is not going to be without its own risks. And we're going to go into the round 2 of tasks that they've gone into with usability or simple usability. And they were invited to explore this experience and conduct a couple of more user tests. So they conducted about 20 usability tests, and they surveyed 225 people using the app for the first time. Now, the thing that I think is really amazing about this is, remember that they have 62 million customers a day, but they only tested 245 people for this study. That's less than like 0.0004%. And that gave them the usability testing results that they needed to include in their new upgrades, like new collection methods, optimized content, and visual changes, so that way users could understand the interface a little bit better. With those insights, they just took off. They had their app doubled in like from 20% to 40%, and it had been downloaded like 60 million times. It definitely gave them a huge database. That way they could understand their own customers' behaviors. So yeah, I would say absolutely, usability testing helps.
So with usability testing, we like to use usability metrics. When we are testing our users, we want to find out, was our test effective? So is your product that you're testing effective? Effectiveness is the accuracy and thoroughness of the goal achieved. So we want to unravel that a bit. Can your user accurately complete a task and allow them to achieve their goals with little or no mistakes? Is your product efficient? Efficiency refers to the resources the user exhausts to achieve a particular goal. So how long did it take for your user to complete the task you set out for them? Did the user have to expend a lot of mental energy and complete a task? Your product should not be exhausting your user. That doesn't seem like a user would want to use. I've downloaded applications expecting really great results from it. But let's say the UI is completely just not user-friendly. I immediately delete the app because it's exhausting for me to try to figure out what to do. So, is your product satisfactory? With what I just said, it wasn't satisfactory for me to completely delete an application 5 minutes after downloading it. So satisfaction relates to the user's subjective thoughts. It relates to the user's subjective thoughts on their product, on the experience using the product. This includes their opinions, the attitude and level of comfort, relevance of the application, the applicability of the usage. So usability testing can help identify if the customer is satisfied with the task that they completed. You're able to observe them and even check out their body language while you're testing them to see if they're satisfied or if they're uncomfortable. We're going to talk about some of the benefits of usability testing now.
And there are so many of them. First off, we're going to go with competitive edge. The markets have shown to disproportionately reward the best of designs. So you want to make sure you're doing that by saving money with usability testing, by fixing UX problems before they happen, and being able to differentiate your product from the rest of the market. Reducing your time to market. Usability testing helps product managers understand what needs to be built so that way they can meet their users' expectations, meet them where they're at. Only 50% of this study that McKinsey performed on 300 companies, only 50% did user research before generating any ideas before actually sending it into production. I'm going to go ahead and maximize usage with usability testing. This is a pretty big one because it helps you figure out where your gaps, your flows, and your user pain points are and everything, because your product is more than just a product. It's a user experience no matter what you are making or what you're developing. Usability tests help you learn about your target users' behavior and preferences and help address those questions like, what exactly is stopping people from proceeding to checkout? Just something as simple as that. How are people using my app? And which element attracts their attention the most? That way you can set up your app to optimize your users and increase user delight. You want to go ahead and test early and often. That is a huge part of usability testing. It'll show you how easy or difficult your product is, providing clues about its potential adoption rate, and you can go ahead and get a jump on that from almost the inception. Just starting with competitive analysis, you can go ahead and just kind of get ready for that user adoption rate. Usability testing builds trust and confidence in your development and your product. And make sure that users can quickly and easily use your product.
So when should we consider testing? Well, even the best UX designers can't design a perfect experience without iterative design driven by the observations from real users. So we need to debunk the myth that we don't need to test our design. We're the expert. One thing that you will learn with UX is you are not your user. You need to get that out of your mind and stop making assumptions. It's impossible for you to know everything about your user and your user needs. So before I leave this part of the presentation, I also want to give you a bit of a pro tip. You need to ask yourself, does your product meet your user needs? And did you target the right market for your product? You are not going to find these answers to these questions with usability testing. Why? Because usability testing is not a proper method in finding answers to these questions. Ideally, your product team has already passed this phase. If not, you need to take a step back and conduct more market research and reevaluate. Usability testing, though, doesn't have to be an expensive experience. 85% of problems can be identified with just 5 users. So it doesn't have to be this really overwhelming experience for you. Just 5 users is enough. 5 target market or target audience users can really help you out. So how do we do it? Well, we're going to start off with making a study plan. And the study plan is going to define the purpose of your study. You're going to start off with scope, which indicates what you are testing. Are you testing a website, a mobile app, another digital product? It explains to your users how much of, and also you need to explain to your users how much of the product you're going to be testing them on. Today, I'm testing you on my home page for this product. You're not testing them on the entirety of the product. So you don't have to be overwhelmed that your product's not ready for testing. You can test any part of your product at any time. What is the purpose? What are you testing them for? You want to identify the concerns, questions, and the goals for the test. Each round of testing, you're probably going to have several general and specific concerns that you want to focus on. Your concerns should drive the scenarios you choose for the usability test. An example would be, will my users be able to find the notifications alerts with ease? That's the purpose of your test. Schedule and location. You want to indicate to your users where and when you will be doing your test. Also to your teammates. If you have the schedule set, you may want to be specific about how many sessions you will hold in a day and exactly what times the sessions will be. With the Scrum team, I think everybody is aware of time boxed meetings and daily Scrum. Well, that doesn't mean you can't have usability testing during your week. You could pick a specific date that you choose to do your testing, and you will let your teammates know this is the day that we're doing the testing. On this day, I will test 3 users for this area that we're working on. So it doesn't have to be out of nowhere. You can schedule it and have it set. Participants. Well, you're going to have to test somebody. So this is going to indicate the number and types of participants you're going to be testing, your target audience, and where you'll be recruiting them from. You could have screeners, you could have any sort of interview questions set up. That way it helps you target the right people to participate in your tests. Scenarios. This is going to indicate the number and types of tasks included in testing. You may want to also include more in the test plan so that your team can help you choose the appropriate tasks that you want to test users on. And metrics. So there's 2 types of metrics. We're going to go over subjective and quantitative metrics. For subjective metrics, you want to include the questions you're going to ask the participants prior to the session. So you could get this from a background questionnaire, a screener, and then after each task scenario is completed, you want to measure the overall ease of the experience and the satisfaction and likelihood to use and recommend questions when the session is completed. But for quantitative metrics, you're going to indicate the quantitative data you'll be measuring in your test. So that includes completion of tasks. Each scenario requires a participant to obtain specific data that would be used to complete a task. So if you successfully complete it, you want to measure that. Critical errors. Essentially, your participant will not be able to finish a task if they have a critical error. It's a major error, they're confused, and your participant may or may not know or be aware that the task goal was incorrect or incompleted. But that speaks volumes for you. But non-critical errors are when the participant kind of recovers at the end and is still able to successfully complete the task, but there was errors in the beginning. An error-free rate is where you get to take the percentage of all your test participants and see how many of them, what percentage of them were able to complete it with no errors at all. And time on task. How long is your user taking to complete each task that you have set out for them? Likes and dislikes. You definitely want your users to speak to you during the testing. So what did they like? What did they dislike? Are there any recommendations they have suggested throughout the test?
And with that, we're going to go ahead and focus on your target audience. These are people who identify or who match your demographics. Designing for anybody is just like packing a trip to anywhere. You don't really know, should you pack a ski jacket? Should you pack a bathing suit? We don't know where we're headed, but we're just going to get there and figure it out. These the wrong way to do usability testing. You want to make sure that the people that you are testing actually can contribute to your development. If you're developing an app for dog people, you're not going to test cat people. With researching your competition, research your competition absolutely provides insights that for your features, your functions, your workflows, and even that feeling that you want to elicit from people when they're using your app. The difference between getting a coffee from Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks, completely different, but they serve, coffee people. But which one? Are you someone who values aesthetics, or are you someone who wants a donut with their coffee? All right, screening for behavior traits that line up with your persona. Thank you, Nelly. Screening for, we want to make sure that we are listening to our users, and that makes sure that we're listening to the right ones. As I said before, we want to make sure that a good way to do that is to start with your current customers. This is actually pretty exciting for your current customers. They're people that you've already have established rapport with. They like you. They just kind of want to help you do a little bit better. For me, it'd be like if someone asked me to review one of my favorite apps. I actually used to be a movie critic, so getting that little peek behind the behind the scenes was absolutely exciting. I love doing that. So that's what your users are going to feel like when you ask them for help. Plus, it'll go so far in helping build brand loyalty, that trust and that confidence from earlier. For some helpful tips, please do not take anything that your users say personally. They're not criticizing your beautiful design skills, your beautiful code. They are there for the product. The product is the one that's being tested, not you, not the user. We're not testing their IQ, their problem-solving skills. It's just simply, does this product work the way that it's intended? Keeping a poker face. This sounds easy. It is not, from experience. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I'm like muted on Zoom, I'm sitting there constantly going, just very naturally. It's a natural human thing to want to agree to persuade that person to go a little bit further. You absolutely cannot do that in usability testing. That gives a little too much information away to your user, and it kind of biases a lot of the results. And then remember to ask nicely. These people are helping you. Let's make sure to mind our P's and Q's while they're sitting there, and recording your testing sessions. This is going to help you see later when you can't remember, be like, this one user had this problem with that, but I can't exactly remember what it was. This will help you so much. Please, if you take one thing away from this, record your usability sessions. It is absolutely critical. It's so helpful. Plus, it helps remove that responsibility of convincing your teammates and your peers of all of these problems that you're having later on. And from that, we're going to start getting into agile testing. So one of the biggest challenges that we have when it comes to testing, usability testing in an agile environment, is time. We're all familiar with time boxes in the Scrum framework. This is going to work a little bit against you, but I think with a little bit of modification, you can absolutely get usability testing in there and be able to work for you, not against you. So starting small, consider testing. I know we said 5 people. 5 people is optimal. 3 people will work. If you get just down and dirty, just go sit in the hallways and the cafeteria. If you're working from home and it's you're a little bit more remote, your friends, your family, they're going to be able to help you. And like I said, people want to help, but they think it's a really interesting process. I haven't had hardly anybody who's declined. They just want to see what you're working on, and they want to feel like they're invited into like the secret project. It's pretty, I find it very fun. 3 participants will very quickly validate or not your product's core workflows and give your team a sense of where to head next. You're going to want to test every week. This is one of those time challenges. And as Nelly mentioned earlier, you might want to dedicate just a little bit of your day to testing 3 participants. just getting a little bit of feedback because, oh, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Making sure that your team knows that this is the day where we can get feedback. This is the day that we can get insights and we can adjust from there. And you can make quick decisions that line up with your business and their user goals. With showing current iterations is very scary. I understand that when we're going in, just maybe at the beginning and you have a couple of ideas on a napkin, you're going to want to get it in front of people. So that way you start from the very beginning. Remember, test early and test often. Testing early includes just the concepts of your ideas. Some feedback is better than nothing. And this includes if you want to do some guerrilla testing, if again, if you want to go sit in the halls or ask your friends and family, just get your product in front of people. If you want to do, well, if you want customers, your users just want to help you. You got to remember that. And then invite everyone. Just like video recording will help you take pressure off of yourself to convince everybody, inviting everybody. Seeing is absolutely believing when it comes to usability testing. If you've designed this beautiful piece of code, or if you've designed a certain part of a product and see that someone's really, really struggling sitting there for like 2 or 3 minutes, then I've had it happen to me where people just cannot figure your design or your product out. It is so eye-opening about it. There's such valuable insight there, and you get to see it before it goes to market. That's such a valuable thing. You get to see where the problems are before everybody sees it, so you have a chance to fix it. I don't think there's really anything better than that. After viewing 1 or 2 of these feedbacks, all of the recordings or anything, your team gets a sense of where the problem areas are, and that leaves you free of convincing them. Reporting back quickly. You want to make sure that you don't get fancy with this, because remember, we're working within that time box. Time is against us at this point, so there's no need to really get into templates and everything. You want to make sure that just you have the critical information, maybe an email with like an executive summary, some recommendations about the pain points that you've discovered. And this helps your team adjust the work accordingly, very quickly. And it tells that your higher ups that despite moving quickly, you're validating your approach with real people. We're going to go with getting started now.
Yes, so I'm sure that was a lot of information, but now we're going to actually get into the start of how to set up your usability testing. Okay, so we're going to go over qualitative usability testing. That's the area that we're going to focus on. There's also another type of usability testing that's quantitative, and that's A/B testing and things like that, but we're going to focus on qualitative usability testing. In qualitative usability testing, it's going to focus on collecting insights, findings, and anecdotes about how people use the product or service. So in a usability testing session, a researcher or facilitator or moderator asks a participant, your user, to perform tasks, usually using one or more specific user interfaces. While the participant completes each task, the researcher observes the participant's behavior and listens to feedback. And this is where that video recording is going to really help you, because you're getting a lot of information and that could be overwhelming. You might not be able to write notes fast enough. You can also always invite any of your teammates to sit in to as well take notes while you're facilitating the user. So you don't have to fear that you have to multitask and it could be just a really overwhelming situation. It does not have to be that way. We're going to look at the 3 main areas of qualitative usability. So as I said, the first is going to be the facilitator, the moderator. You're going to be the guide. You're going to take me on my journey. But you're not going to navigate me. You're just going to talk about what we see on the way. You're going to help me go through it. Also, a great website, which I will drop in the chat at the end, you can dive in a little bit deeper on what qualitative usability testing is. So your tasks are going to be the tasks that you set up during your study plan. That's going to take your user through them. So you're going to take your user through the tasks and see how they complete it. That is your purpose of your test. And then your participants are your users. That is going to be your target audience. Or as Rachel said, if you're doing guerrilla testing or you just don't have the target audience yet, you can start off with maybe, you work in a corporation and there's a department that doesn't work closely with you, so they don't know your product like you do. And maybe you could test a couple of them if you can't get your target audience. But the goal would be to test your target audience. Sorry. And now we want to talk about managing the risks.
There are absolutely risks to usability testing. If we're not going to lie and tell you that it's all sunshine and rainbows, it's definitely not. Like Nelly said, targeting the wrong audience is absolutely one of them. Think about those cat versus dog people. If you're not going to want to test one when you want to test the other, using the wrong metrics, and validating your own assumptions. You don't want to go in just with the idea of everything that happens that's good means that we're doing good. Just confirmation bias has no place in usability testing. Performing a study with a small number of users will be a cost-effective way of minimizing those risks, but only if those participants are carefully selected, if the study is appropriately designed and conducted, the data is analyzed accurately. Essentially, usability testing just acts as a signal flare for when users' basic needs are not being met. Now, how you can organize that is arranging your data into a table. It's one of the simplest ways. I've done it so many times. It's a great way to visualize without really having to get into the nitty-gritty. You would just have all of your tasks lined up and your participants, and just how many of these participants had issues with this task. It's that simple. Prioritizing issues based on criticality and impact. You can rank your findings from 0 to 4, 0 being ain't nothing wrong here, to 4 being they have no idea what's going on. They don't even know how to get to the second page or how to work out this one button. It's a little bit more of a difficult problem, and that will help your teammates kind of prioritize and find that sweet spot of what needs to be fixed first and what needs to be maybe put on the back burner for a later day. And that kind of goes into the Kano model a little bit, because Kano actually helps you prioritize those features anyway. It gives you a clear window into seeing your users' expectations. And a lot of this has to do with competitive analysis as well. What are your competitors offering that will set you apart? But also, what are the things that people really like about your competitors? What's something that you could add to yours that will help improve your users' experience? When businesses meet the needs and expectations, they're so much more likely to develop a successful product. And we want to make sure that we prepare you with some good questions for your usability testing. So with managing the risks, the questions are a very important part. The first part is ask open-ended questions. You do not want to ask closed questions with just a yes or no answer. We're here to get information, and a yes or no answer might answer that question, but it will not give you your team the feedback that they need to be able to adjust their work accordingly. Try to begin your questions with how, why, what, instead of a little bit of like, did you like this? We're going to do a little bit of a game. If you want to vote for the first or the second question, I'm going to give 2 examples, and you're going to let me know which one of those do you think is a good usability question. So for the first one, round 1, this first one is, how was your overall experience? Does that seem like a good question for usability testing? Was the new feature easy to use? Is the second one.
Yeah,
you want to go?
Yeah, so if you guys could use your chat panel, and question 1 or question 2, which was the better question for usability testing?
Mhm.
So question 1 was, tell me again, Rachel.
Question 1 was, how was your overall experience?
Yeah. And
Question 2 was the new feature easy to use?
All right. All right, I'm seeing some answers come out. So Mike is right. Question 1, I think Mike is right. Mike is saying question 1 was more appropriate. What do you guys think?
Yes,
All
absolutely.
right.
Good job, Mike. Yeah, the first, yes, great job. All right, we're gonna head into the second round, asking follow-up questions. This is very, very important as well. Users may not be conscious of the why behind their thoughts and actions. Follow-up questions result in way more valuable insights that you can provide to your team. For a second round, we're gonna go with the same rules as the first one. For the first question, it's, did you like the design of the landing page? And the second question is, if you were looking for more information, where would you expect to find it? Which one of those seemed like a pretty good follow-up question?
Question 1, did you like the design of the landing page? Question 2, if you wanted more information, where would you go? I'm paraphrasing. Yeah. All right. Well, let's give our attendees a few seconds to answer. And Mike is saying question 2.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Mike is
great
right
job.
All
The
right.
reason why is because, again, it limits your users to just a yes or no question. You want to be able to get a little bit more information out of them, especially if you have a very small amount of time to be able to do so. All right, this is a fun one. I really like avoiding these, even though it's very hard, but it always reminds me of lawyers. The objection, Your Honor. Leading the witness. Leading questions can introduce biases into your insights, and it can correct, or it can lead to incorrect insights as well. Round 3 is going to be our final round. So let's see what we get this time. So for the first question, you can let me know if you think this is a good or a bad one. Is, do you find this feature frustrating to use? Question number 1. Question number 2 is, would you use this product if it were in your house?
Question 1, do you find this feature frustrating to use? Question 2, would you use this product if it were in your house? All right. Which one is more valuable for usability testing? All right. One answer is question 1, which is more valuable.
All right, so that was a little bit of a tricky one. Like I said, leading questions are so hard to avoid, but I think they're so much fun. They're both leading questions.
Ooh, it was a trap.
Yes.
All right. Damn it.
Yes, specifically in the first one, do you find this feature frustrating to use?
Objection. Mike is saying objection, Your Honor. Counsel is leading the witness. All right.
Fair
Objection
enough.
sustained. All right. Sorry, Rachel. I just couldn't resist that.
No, that was so fun. And then, would you use this product if it were in your house? It just gives a little bit too much detail there. It already assumes that you're using the product when you want to make sure that the insights that you're getting are pretty unbiased about things already in your life. An actual good leading question, or not leading question, we want to avoid leading. A good question to avoid leading would be something like, what are some pros and cons of these designs? So it's something that's just very balanced. You never want to give too much either way, because your users, they want to help you, they want to please you. That's probably one of the biggest problems, or the biggest roadblocks when it comes to usability testing, is that they do want to help. In fact, they want to help so much that sometimes they can bias themselves in your favor. So you got to be careful about that. All right, and the last one is to not provide too many details. There are a lot of times when you're going through a workflow, when maybe you're trying to get someone to just simply log into a task, log into a some type of product that you've developed, you want to maybe avoid using the word login if that's what the button says. Just as a very quick example. And you want to be able to pay attention to what users say and not what they do. Participants really only need to know very essential details. That way they can participate in their session successfully. All right, and we're going to go ahead and go to resources. We've got a lot of them.
Yes, and there's so much more resources that you can find online, but these are the ones that we focused on for our presentation. A lot of it is from Nielsen Norman Group, where we found out the benefits of testing 5 users, Usability Testing 101. Also, if you were interested in the McDonald's case study, you can dive in a bit deeper on simpleusability.com. There are also some other awesome case studies on there. I don't know if you guys are aware of the website Udemy, but there is a case study on Udemy. And I can't remember all of them, but there's a good amount of them to check out. And it's always good to see the before and after of what did usability testing do for me. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to open up the floor to some Q&A. I think we have a good 15-ish minutes or so.
Yes.
So we're going to, any of your questions, any confusion, any clarity you would like on any area that we spoke on, right now is the time to ask it.
Perfect. Thank you, Rachel and Nelly. So those who are attending, I'm monitoring both the chat panel and the Q&A panel. So please type in your questions. And while we are waiting for questions, Rachel and Nelly, I want to summarize my key takeaways so you can correct me if I got it wrong. So one of my biggest takeaways was the product owner, was related to the product owner who asked me a question that caused me to schedule this webinar. I feel that one of the biggest fears of the product owner is the moment I start a usability testing, my clients and users will immediately expect that that they are being asked for a wish list, and everything that they communicate, the usability testing is an opportunity to share their laundry list of everything that they want different in the product. And by inviting them to a usability testing session, what I'm actually doing is I'm promising them that whatever you say is going to be in the next release. So that's a fear that they have, which causes them to never, ever even consider usability testing because they feel that it's like a self-defeating exercise. So that's the biggest risk in their mind. Now, what would you say to them to help them manage this risk and to set the appropriate expectations with their users and the participants so that they don't set themselves up for failure and disappointment?
So I would say one of the misconceptions is that usability testing, as was spoken earlier on in the presentation, that usability testing is basically getting customer feedback, back to back, where I want this, I want that. It's mostly observing and finding the gaps. Now, the Kano method, as we also went over, that's the area that, let's say you do usability testing, you find the gaps, you see you could also do screeners before the usability testing that lets you know about their pain points a bit more, their background more. And the Kano method, without opening up the, this flood of user feedback, it also lets you know, okay, well, I noticed that 5 of the 10 users had this problem and kind of expected a feature like this. Let's see if that's like a low-hanging fruit for us to be able to achieve. Because if you open customer feedback too much and you don't have it organized in a way to navigate through it, then yes, they will be asking for really high expectations, and that can cost a lot of money. So usability testing and the Kano method and doing a study on your user needs and your target audience's needs will help you where you don't have to get a flood of feedback in at once.
Yeah.
Rachel, anything else you would like to add to that?
Yeah, I would just kind of like to echo with the product owner, one of the biggest jobs that they have, the biggest task that they have is maximizing the value of what their team is producing. Another way to do that is with usability testing, being able to have bona fide proof that they're heading in the right direction from their users themselves. So it's not necessarily just gaining a whole bunch of features and drowning in it. If you have it set up in the way that you can prioritize and organize the results of your testing, and to make sure that we have the testing set up to where it's testing what we need to know, not necessarily what users want. There's a big difference there, because what users want and what users need, two completely separate things. But I want to make sure that product owners know that usability testing can only help you. Like I said, early and often, if it's a little bit later in the game, you are kind of playing catch up a little bit, but it's like I said earlier, but any feedback is better than nothing. Yeah. Just releasing your product into the wild without doing any usability testing I feel like is setting yourself up for a bigger risk of failing.
And doing usability testing more often is also going to make that customer feedback not be as overwhelming when it comes, because you're doing it
very true.
So often that you don't have suddenly a bunch of users that are upset. It's, it's a flow.
Yeah. And what occurred to me, Rachel and Ellie, as I was listening to you, is that one of the reasons why when we reach out to our customers and users for feedback, and if it feels like we are drinking from a fire hose and they are dumping a lot of information at us, maybe that is the behavior of a human being who has not been heard. So maybe there's feedback where the product owner nurtures relationships with the most important customers and says, look, I'm going to talk to you in 3 different contexts. One context is, I'm going to ask you, what do you want? What do you wish? And maybe that's backlog. That's like backlog refinement, right? Or just anything is welcome. And then again, they have to set expectations there. The second is, I'm going to come into you with early ideas and get feedback about to solve this specific problem, which is a better way to solve the problem, which is different from tell me all the problems you want, because that's channel A. Channel A is tell me everything you want. Here, we picked a problem, which is a better way to solve the problem. And maybe the next would be, okay, it's deployed in production. And now let's see how it's actually working out, right? So there are 3 channels with 3 different contexts and 3 different guardrails about what is the intent and what is okay and what is not okay. So I wonder, as I was listening to you, I think that might be one way to manage the risk of this deluge of expectations that cannot be met. Because if that happens, you can say, oh, great point. Can we hold that for the meeting we have set up 2 weeks from now or next week, right? So that was one of my takeaways. So thank you for sharing. One other key takeaway that I had was, if I look at the trajectory of a product owner. So first, product owner says, no, I'm not going to do usability testing because there's no point. I can't accommodate their wish list. Okay, the risk management is have multiple channels, educate the customer, the participant. This is not about the wish list. This is about which of 2 ways might be better to solve a specific problem. The second objection that I often hear from my product owners is to say, man, it's going to take so much time and money. And I love the McDonald's case study that you gave. And you said, look, 85% of problems can be solved with just 5 people. So hopefully now the product owner can heave a sigh of relief. Only 5 people? I can do 5. And then you relax it. You say, well, if 5 is overwhelming, do 3, but for God's sake, do something, right? Instead of flying blind. So I like that. So now the product owner is saying, okay, well, I can do 5. And my third biggest takeaway that I had from you was choose the right people. Like if you're selling a product for dog owners, don't go and do usability testing with cat owners just because your mom or your sister or someone is a cat owner and it's easy. Right? It may be easy, but it's not valuable, right? So choose the right people. And what I like about what you said is that I've been in companies where you have a spectrum of customers and not every customer is equal, in the sense that you have a strategy and we are trying to target a specific kind of customer. And I think the art and craft of product ownership is also about knowing who to say no to. So we have to try and pick the right customer who we want to delight. So selecting the right customer is so important. So that was one of my biggest takeaways. 5 people is enough. Choose the right customer who you want to please. And I love one of the things you mentioned was, maybe you implied, the detachment. It could be ideally like going to an optometrist. You know, optometrist takes some lenses and says, better, worse, still the same.
Mhm.
And I never felt emotionally pressurized to please an optometrist by trying to figure out which lens does the optometrist want me to choose, so I earn their approval, right? It's like, I don't care about the optometrist. I want to be able to see, right? So maybe that's a archetype that came to my mind, that when I'm doing usability testing, can I have like a flat deadpan voice and a facial expression of an optometrist who's not emotionally attached to a feature or a layout or a design? They're just curious. So that was very powerful, because yeah, human beings, we are wired to gain the approval of people, to make people happy. Especially the people who are participating in a usability testing are probably kind and helpful people. They want to help. And if they feel that the best way to help you is to make you feel good about yourself and give you good feedback, they're going to do it, and it's going to be waste. So that was pretty cool. So detachment and having the right mindset, that's pretty cool. So those are my biggest takeaways, that you can manage the risk by setting expectations. Doesn't have to take a lot of time and money. 5 people are fine. Pick the right 5 people who represent the customer that you want to delight, and be emotionally detached, and don't fall in the trap of making your participants feel that they are displeasing you. Don't lead them on in terms of what you want to hear. Be genuinely curious. And the last thing that you shared, which was completely mind-blowing for me, was the cadence. What if we created a cadence of weekly usability testing, even if it is 30 minutes or 60 minutes? It's on everybody's calendar. That's why the daily Scrum occurs at the same place, same time, because Ken Schwaber taught me there are lots of things out of our control, but there are some things in our control. And if we control that which in our control, then we can build a life around it. So if there's a weekly, every Thursday from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, we'll be doing usability testing. It's on everybody's calendars. If you can make it, fine. If not, we'll do the recording. I think that cadence of Scrum, that is so amazing. And I feel that we can save so many hours of wasted time in backlog refinement if we have a shared understanding of watching a recording or participating in seeing human beings struggle with designs which we thought were amazing. So I really think your suggestion is a game changer, because it can cut through so many hours of agonizing backlog refinement by building shared experience. So many powerful takeaways, and I love your resources. As we come to an end, I want to thank you, Rachel and Nelly, for all your suggestions. Any closing thoughts? If there was just one thing that you wanted viewers to take away from this session in one brief sentence, what would you want them to remember?
That you are not your user.
You are not your user. Nelly, good. Rachel, what is one sentence, a soundbite you want people to take away?
Oh gosh, there's so many. Objection, Your Honor. That's
Yeah, I put you on the spot.
I would just say, make sure you're asking the right questions. That's really the best thing that you can do for yourself, for your team. That's one thing that I've really delved into when it comes to usability testing, is just ask the right questions, and the feedback will be valuable.
Very good. My life coach told me the quality of life is determined by the quality of questions we ask. Ask the right
Absolutely.
questions. All right. Rachel, sorry.
Real quick, there was a couple of things that we wanted to drop in chat. One is the Nielsen and Norman group about usability testing, qualitative usability testing, if you want a deeper dive on how to set that up. And then, I think I just put that to.
Yeah, that's okay. And also, Nelly, what we can do is we can put these links in the meetup message board as well.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
So I'll make sure that they are available to everyone. All right. So thank you, everyone, for attending. Hope you found this useful. Until our next conversation, thank you. Keep calm and Scrum on. Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.